fledgling movement takes shape, the rest of the media, besides Michael and me, finally take notice. And Mr. Moore tells us what it was like to take turns leading the crowd in this call and response.
They are thieves.
They are thieves.
They are gangsters.
They are gangsters.
They are kleptomaniacs.
They are kleptomaniacs.
They have tried to take our democracy.
They have tried to take our democracy.
And turn it into a kleptocracy.
And turn it into a kleptocracy.
Michael noted one major change since the movement began.
It's good to see the media has finally shown up.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was CNN. He told protesters this was just the beginning of something big.
All great movements start with just a few people.
All great movements start with just a few people.
Whether it was the few people that were in the bar, the Stonewall Bar, down in the village.
Whether it was the few people that were in the bar,
That was a smaller crowd than this.
That was a smaller crowd than this.
And look what that's led to.
And look what that's led to.
Everyone will remember.
Everyone will remember.
3 months from now.
3 months from now.
6 months from now.
6 months from now.
100 years from now.
100 years from now.
That you came down to this plaza.
That you came down to this plaza.
And you started this movement.
And you started this movement.
As promised, joining me now, the filmmaker, activist, and author now of Here Comes Trouble, Michael Moore. Thanks again for coming in.
Thanks for having me. It's very bizarre to watch that because unless you're there, see, they don't allow amplification in the park, so they have the system as you've explained on the show.
Relays, yeah.
Yes, where everyone relays to everyone in the back what's being said, but it sounds like a cross between either a priest saying mass.
Exactly, it's a catechism.
The Dominus Vobiscum,
right.
Or a scene from Life of Brian,
right.
where they're all there. You know, Jesus is saying, "You are all individuals."
And then we're all individuals.
We're all individuals.
And the one guy says, "I'm not," or the other one at the back, where somebody in the back goes, "I think you just said, 'Blessed are the cheesemakers.'"
Yes, right. But I agree with your last guest, though.
Jeff,
it is,
yep.
Yes, down there, it is such a wonderful experience to be there. The people are kind. The people are good to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They are attempting a form of democracy where there isn't like one leader that's telling them what to do, and then they're supposed to follow along.
Right.
But everybody, you know, gets to sort of have their say, and it's interesting to watch. It's great to. I've been down there 3 times now, and I've been really impressed with what I've seen.
How much do the protesters owe the NYPD? Given that there has not been any apparently serious injuries as a result of this. Obviously, the thing could turn overnight. That could be the dumbest question in the world. But right now, the NYPD made this into certainly a local story, and New York being the media capital of the world, anything that's a local story in New York gets some sort of attention nationally.
You can see, though, having been down there and having been part of this, when you say the NYPD, the grunts, the actual patrol officers, the guys that you and I know that we deal with, and you've worked in many cities. This is actually one of the better cities when it comes to the average police officer.
Yes, sir.
Treating you well and doing well, and it's, you know, and you have your bad apples, definitely, but what you have here is management of the NYPD, the white shirts, and Ray Kelly and these guys that are really the ones down there itching for a fight. And you can see that a lot of the patrol cops are like, "What's going on? Why are we doing this?" and they're you know, I got to believe that they have overplayed their hand here. They've made a huge mistake, and frankly, it was great news today when the bus drivers of New York City said they will not go to another one of these demonstrations because they were told to bring buses there to take the protesters away when they were arrested. They will not take protesters away in buses any longer, these union guys and women, and I think that's really a good thing. In fact, I personally would like to. I'll rent the truck or the bus to take away the white shirts of the NYPD next time they do something.
Yeah, you might be able to get, since the Transit Workers Union came out to side with the Occupy Wall Street crowd last week, that was an inadvertent, I mean, nobody could have forecast 700 arrests. It was an inadvertent value to that association. But now, one thing, I keep hearing a lot of complaints about the lack of specificity, and Jeff Madrick just pointed out that it sort of represents the organic nature of this. But the origination point here is, to me, on this, never has anything in the history of mankind gotten better without somebody first standing up and going, this is wrong. I don't know how to fix this. If I knew how to fix it, I'd be fixing it, but I know this is wrong. Is that what's happening in this, do you think?
Yes, and that's enough right now. That's enough just for people to say, I'm sick and tired, I've had enough, I'm coming down with I'm going to participate with other people in this. The demands that will come, that will evolve. But the people who are complaining about this, even some in the liberal press,
certainly
have complained about this. And frankly, they sound like our parents when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan.
A bunch of noise.
I can't understand any of those words. Why don't they play something you can dance slow to? I mean, it's like, because first of all, yes, the majority of them who started this are young people.
Right.
I want them out. These young people, you went to Cornell?
Yeah.
I mean, you grew up here though in New York.
Yeah.
Remember the SUNY system?
Absolutely.
You could go to school for practically nothing.
Yep.
You could go to the UC system out in California.
You can go to Cornell for practically nothing because of a branch of SUNY being connected to that.
That's right.
It's a land grant.
Exactly. So that's what we grew up with. These kids are being told at 22, you've got to go out into the real world with a crushing debt.
Right, your mortgage.
$40,000, $60,000, $80,000.
Right, you got a mortgage at 18 and you didn't even get a house for it.
That's right. So they believe their future has been stolen from them, and that's why they're there, and God bless them for being there.
All right, is this a new force in the political equation that we have, or is this something external to our political equation?
I don't think actually it's either. I think it actually is where the majority of Americans are at. Those people down there represent really where the majority, 72% of the country now, all the polls are showing that over 70% want the rich to be taxed. They want regulations put on Wall Street. They want those who committed crimes on Wall Street arrested. That's where the majority, the mainstream of this country is actually where these kids and these other people are at down there in Lower Manhattan. So frankly, I just think they're just the first ones. It had to start somewhere. Somebody had to burn the first bra. I mean, and always at first when a new movement starts, the people who are the ones who are out there, get attacked. Oh, look at that.
It's a bunch of noise.
But even though that happens, the majority of women, say for instance in the women's liberation movement, felt even back then that women should be paid the same as men. That women should have equal rights.
So it needed somebody to express it.
Somebody's got to kickstart this thing, and it has been kickstarted here in Lower Manhattan, down there in Zuccotti Park.
All right, which is the segue to our next topic after the break, which is where does it go from here? And with the NYPD now putting on its own videos of confrontations with Occupy protesters on YouTube, where does the media battle about this go from here? Back on those topics with Michael Moore next. Ever since 1792, when the stock traders who used to gather under the buttonwood tree at the foot of what had been De Waal Street in Old New Amsterdam decided to move their business indoors, the battle of Wall Street versus Main Street has been shorthand for the conflicts of the interests of people who make money by speculating it with those who earn money by working for it. As we continue our Occupy Wall Street coverage with Michael Moore and with tonight's third story, it's thus perhaps no surprise that the movement is now headed for Main Street. Demonstrators have marched and chanted in Boston, Chicago, Albuquerque, Raleigh, Los Angeles, LA tonight, matter of fact, and Denver. Tomorrow it's Philadelphia, Thursday D.C., and a separate event in Houston. On the 15th, Phoenix and Pittsburgh. Also being planned rallies in smaller cities, Santa Fe, Little Rock, Mason City, Iowa. Japan and Europe might be next. Michael, that's literally where it goes from here.
That's right.
Figuratively, where does it go from here, do you think, based on your experience and what you've seen in your 3 trips down there?
I think that that not only is this going to continue, these cities that you mentioned, this is what's so wonderful about this. There really isn't anything driving this other than what Wall Street has done and what those who are in charge of our economy have done. They've wrecked so many lives. They like I said, they overplayed their hand in such a bizarre way. They weren't just happy enough with having multi-billions. They wanted tens and hundreds of billions, maybe even trillions, and so
kleptomania, as you said.
They're kleptomaniacs, is what they are. They're out of control. I think it really is some kind of a sociopathic illness, and they now want us to live in a kleptocracy where the kleptomaniacs run the show. This is going to spread. I said this last week. I said it 2 weeks ago when I first spoke with you. And the mainstream media was trying to just poo-poo this. Oh, it's just a few down there, don't worry. well, what happened on Saturday, not just here, but as you said, in Boston and LA and Chicago and elsewhere. And now Wednesday, I just heard, is going to be National Student Walkout Day. This is going to start to organize on college campuses.
Okay, great.
And these students have, I have a niece that goes to one of the UC schools out in California. They're talking about raising their tuition from when already, this is just tuition, not room and board, but it's already at something like $16,000 a year or a semester, whatever. Now they want to raise it to $21,000. Students out there are already protesting this, but this is going to dovetail with so many things. People who've lost their homes, the 50 million who don't have health insurance, all the disparate groups of people who've been affected by the greed on Wall Street. They have had it. And I'll tell you, President Obama, he'd be smart right now to not just give another speech, but actually have his Justice Department either have a special prosecutor or an investigation and go after the people that stole this money. The people want a perp walk. They want to see people led away in handcuffs with a coat over the head.
That's right.
And because that's going to be some form of justice. But let me tell you, these people who are down there, and myself included, in Liberty Plaza down there in Zuccotti Park, it's not just about getting a bill passed in Congress now. It's not just about arresting one banker or the head of Goldman Sachs having to testify again. This is something much larger. We oppose the way our economy is structured. The economic system itself, at its core, is unfair, it's not just, and it's not democratic. And we live in a democracy, and we have to have full democracy now, not just voting for politicians. Oh yeah, I live in a democracy because I get to vote. I, you, everybody else here wants a say in how this economy is run. We are affected by it in our daily lives, and people are not going to tolerate this anymore.
All right. Without a message, obviously, there's no movement. I think we agree this is organic, but there are lots of imperative messages that never go anywhere, for want of a better word, for lack of packaging, messaging, salesmanship. You're one of the few people who has a feel for both of these things, for the imperative message and the way to present it to people. Do you have advice to the Occupy crowd about, for want of that better term, packaging what they're doing from here on in?
I think that what they're doing, and actually I'd rather listen to them. I'd rather take their advice, because I've been down there at their assemblies and I have heard some incredible things. They are concerned about the short-term goals: tax the rich, jail the bankers, a moratorium on foreclosures so no one's thrown out of their home, reintroduce a real health care bill that covers everyone, truly covers everyone. These are what should be the short-term goals. But the larger, long-term goal is these people, especially the young people, do not want to grow up, do not want to live in a society where the upper 1% owns everything, including our political system, and the other 99% are supposed to scramble for the crumbs. They reject that system outright, and I think what's going to come out of this is that not that a new political party is going to form, but a movement that says we are the 99%. We are the country. We are part of not just this country, but the greater world that's being affected by this. We are the 99%. The 1% in a democracy do not call the shots. I think the 99% do, and that's where this is hopefully going to, where it's going to head.
Amen. So I should go?
You should go.
Yeah.
Yes,
No,
yes.
I'm going to go.
Yes.
I'm going to go at this point. We're working out the details.
All right, man, they'll be really happy to see you down there.
Fill in for me when I don't make it back.